Hi, I'm Doug Ross. We're here with our Times editorial board with a meeting with Valparaiso Community School Superintendent Ric Frataccia to talk about two referendums going on. Also in the room with us we have Bob Heiss, our editor, John Scheibel, our Porter County editor, Deb Anselm, our general manager. We have Sarah Gullner, one of the reporters here, Krista Zabanovic, deputy editor, and Carmen McCollum, our education writer. Rick, why don't you tell us about the referendums, what they're about, and why you're pursuing them?
Well, thank you, Mr. Ross, and thanks for having me. We have two referenda. One referenda is about capital projects, or capital, what we call capital, which is about buildings, and another about general fund, which we call operations referenda. The capital referenda dealing with buildings is the culmination of probably 4 or 5 years of our school board engaging with architects to study our buildings, looking for the most cost-effective way to take our buildings into the future. The results of those studies, from what I gathered, studying the analysis when I came on board in June, was that the physical structure of our buildings are sound. The infrastructure needs a lot of work. You know, the HVAC, the mechanical, the technology, the electrical needs considerable amount of work. And that is, we built that into the referendum on the capital side. Also, within the community, there was a sizable number of folks that wanted somehow to keep Central. So prior to my coming on board, there was talk about what to do with Central. Shall we close it? Shall we sell it? What are we going to do with it? The community immediately surrounding Central obviously wanted to keep it. The Historical Society obviously wanted to keep it. A great number of townsfolk wanted to keep it. And then there's the flip side saying, maybe repurpose it for something else. So I studied it with an architect, and what we're going to do with Central is downsize its footprint. It currently serves about 350 kids. We're going to downsize it to about 150 and make it a one-section school and maybe have a special program on top of it there. But we're going to keep Central. What the community that wanted to keep Central kept saying to us over and over again, they wanted to have a historical footprint in the town that was used for school. So, for example, we have 2 older schools that now serve as Boys Club, Girls Club, and Bonta. These folks wanted to say, we want a school, so that we know that it was a school, and so we're going to do that. We hope through the referendum. The high school, we're going to redo the front and redo the foyer, beautify it, and I think it does need some aesthetic touch. You know, our competition is, you know, they've got some nice facilities. We're going to take care of the redesigning the front to make it, I think, more aesthetically pleasing. We're going to redo the auditorium, the media center, the cafeteria, the entrance foyer, and the classrooms. We have a 42-year-old pool that is in need of constant repair, and we can't use it for a lot of meets because it's not spec'd. And so we're moving toward having obviously a new pool to replace that pool. We also are putting aside some money to increase the offerings in our career tech program. Most notably with robotics, what we call, what in the field is called advanced engineering, or advanced manufacturing, I should say. Some folks don't like that term. People keep telling me that's the term people use, so whatever you folks use. But it's basically robotics, and we're going to build on that and build on Project Lead the Way, which is Introduction to Engineering. We are currently, as we morph into the general fund portion of the referendum, that's critical. And I gave Mr. Ross a copy of the particular components of each of the referenda. But one sizable component of the operations referenda is money set aside for technology teachers and money set aside for technology troubleshooters, because as you no doubt are aware, we're trying to move to one-to-one with the computers per child. When you have that many computers and you're using them that much, you really do need to have somebody on site that can go to a room to fix a computer. I mean, it's really an economy of scale. Once the scale gets this big, you need to have somebody close. You know, gone are the days when you can have, you know, let's say Northview. Northview has 300 kids. You got 300 machines going all day, and you become used to having the kids on the machine. Well, you don't want to call central office and say, guess what, we got 4 machines down. You need to call your office and say, I got 4 machines down, come fix it. So we need to reduce the time between something's broken and something's fixed. So, but we don't have the money to do it now. But the referendum will allow us to move in that direction. It will also allow us to expand the career tech offerings, because we're going to need the money to hire those folks. And we're going to need the money to hire introduction engineer teachers. Currently, on the operations side, we're looking at 2 possibilities. One, we have recently found out that introduction to engineering is now able to be taught in 2nd grade. So, if we can design a program such that our 2nd graders are getting engineering experiences from 2nd grade through 6th grade, because they pick up industrial tech in 7th grade at the middle school. So if we can have 2 through 6 introduction to engineering, followed by the industrial tech, followed by more PLT, more engineering at the high school, I just think that's going to be terrific for kids. That you know, it becomes second nature. They're already natives relative to technology. It would be really terrific to have them be natives relative to engineering. The flip side to that is maybe not a flip side, because before me, there was talk about having language in the elementary schools as well, which I think is a really good idea. It's choosing the language that's going to be fascinating. But with language, I think there are opportunities to have it as extracurricular as well. But the main thing is providing them a venue, providing the kids and mama and daddy a venue to have their kids learn a language either during school or after school. And so you reach a point, as I'm sure you folks do as well, where you have your ideas outrun your money. and so all we're asking for is 2008 was rough on everybody. It was rough on Valpo because they got the same phone call we all got. And the phone call basically was, remember the money that we said you were going to get? Yeah, you're not going to get it. We're in crisis. And, everybody's in crisis. Now, there's a provision that you can go to your community and say, would you allow us to recapture the money that we lost in 2008? And that's basically what we're doing. My understanding was about $4.5 million, and so we're asking for $4.5 million. And basically we're asking for $4.5 million in an effort to expand offerings for kids in terms of curriculum and support. The facilities we're asking for, we're touching, this is the capital program that we put together touches all the schools. There was a big interest early in the project of having a new high school, which is nice. But to have a new high school and then fix the high school, and then to fix the elementary schools, and then to basically put the kids in schools that are closer to their neighborhoods, like south of 30. That's a really big ticket. Basically, a new high school is going to be in the vicinity of $150 million. That's one school. So when you look at a plan, you look at a plan and you say, geez, that's nice. And then you start putting money to it. You say, gosh, that's a pretty big pill to take to the community. So when structurally, I surmise that our buildings were structurally sound, but infrastructurally not so sound, we put our money in infrastructure. I'm really excited about it. I mean, nothing is more exciting than a new school, but the way we can do these schools, I think they're going to be pretty crisp. And the kicker on this is, as I'm told, is one of the few referenda in the state that touches every school. Every single school is going to be up to speed. So for the next 20 years, I mean, we're going to put 3 years aside and fix the school district. And then after that, you're going to have about 20 years of, I think we're going to have 20 years of good times with the buildings. And that's not to say, when as no doubt you're aware, when you do the infrastructure right, you increase efficiency and effectiveness. If you increase efficiency and effectiveness, you take less of your general fund to pay for your lights and heat and all that stuff. So you're basically saving yourself some money in the long run. But I don't know how much we're going to save. I'm told you save about 20%. But if we don't save 20%, I want to tell people that we're going to save 20%. It'd be nice to save 20%. We're pretty excited about it. And the community's treated us really nicely so far. I mean, I'm sure there are folks that are out there saying that they're not in favor of it. I get that. But most folks that I talk to are indeed in favor of it. Because we waited a long time for this. I mean, they studied it for 5 years. And basically, I took those studies, consolidated them, and said, I think the community will buy this if we do this and this. But, and for $150 million, you get everything fixed, not just high school.
Questions?
Yes. Well, let me take it from the strategic standpoint. Valparaiso has been very supportive of the schools.
Right.
But you do have the Tea Party movement that says we're taxed enough and forget it. So what do you think the odds are on either?
Of winning?
Right.
10 to 1.
In favor, I would.
In favor.
Okay. Have you done any studies on that, or surveys?
The initial overview in talking with random members of the community, it's about 3 to 1. I think by the time May comes here, it'll be more than that.
Okay, and you're going on the every chicken dinner you can find, you're going to be talking.
Most chicken dinners are exactly that, chicken and peas every night.
Can you talk about the cost, what the referendum, what additional money we're looking at, like per household or average type home?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You know, what the effect will be?
I gave Mr. Ross the printout. I'll give you one too.
And I'll make copies too.
I'll go 2 and 2, sir, and then 2 that way. If you would go to the handout that says tax impact, I think it's the 3rd page in. You see it? Okay, if we borrow money at 4%, I'm told that the median assessed value of a home in Valpo is 140. Do you see the 140? So you follow that to the right, and the capital referendum at 4% tax impact is $93 a year. Do you see that? Then you just follow it across. For both referendum, it's $205. If your house is assessed at 140, then your bill for the year goes up $17 a month. And then the next page is if we have to borrow at 5%. And frankly, one of the benefits of going to referenda in May is most folks think that interest rates are going to go up by November. So they're really nice right now. I mean, we might even get in below 4, which would be pretty dramatic, but it's not 4 right now. So in being as forthright to the community as we can, this is what our estimate is. And this is the estimate that we gave at our 1028. And you know, you're bounded your 1028 to say, this is what we think is going to happen. So,
1028 being the public hearing.
Right.
So when do you make a decision on whether it's 4% or 5%?
When we win the referendum in May, the next step is to sell the bonds. And we don't make a decision on that. They tell us what the rate is, what we're borrowing at. But past practice is the rate's better in May than not past practice. The going thinking is the rates are going to be better in May and over the summer than they are going to be in the fall, for borrowing anyway.
I want to go back to some of these specific facilities plans for the different schools. I'm really interested in Central. You all are going to keep Central open and reduce it to a 1-section school.
Correct.
When you say 1 section, what are we talking? What 1 section?
1 kindergarten, 1 first, 1 second, 1 third, 1 fourth, and 1 fifth.
150 kids in each of those grade levels, K through 6.
That'd be max. That'd be 30 kids per class. It's not going to be 30 kids per class, but you plan that way.
Okay. So, and that building, what's the capacity for it? It sounds like a lot of wasted space in some respects.
Well, we're only going to inhabit the ground floor and the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the floors are going to be for periodic art, music, PE. The kids aren't going to be up there all day.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go up there for art and down. But they're going to stay on the ground floor and the first floor. So it'll be undersized in that way.
Yeah.
And then the new school that you're talking about, south of 30, I forget where that land is.
Haviland Road.
Okay.
That is an area that I believe Mr. Risk bought years ago. I can only assume that at the time he was thinking south of 30 is going to grow, we need a school. I mean, I don't know why you'd buy land if you didn't think you were going to need And frankly, I think he was the type that, because I worked with him when I came here, he had some nice vision, and he knew the areas. But obviously, he retired before that came to fruition. Anyway, when you start looking into where do these kids come from? So if you wanted to make Central a smaller footprint and make it a neighborhood school, so to speak, because it serves, obviously you know this, it serves a historical neighborhood for the town, which is, to their credit, I think they wanted to preserve their own neighborhood. And frankly, I don't blame them. And they wanted it to look like somebody was going to school there, not that somebody was going to be having an office there. And I don't blame them for that. The challenge was trying to come up with a creative way to say, how do we have a school and also help the district at the same time? Well, then you start looking at your population, who goes to that school? And frankly, I was very surprised. There are 350 kids in that school, half of whom are bused in from south of 30. So then you look at Parkview. Parkview has 50 kids bused in from south of 30. And Hayes Leonard has 250 kids bused in from south of 30. So you begin to ask yourself the question, holy cow, maybe if we could do south of 30, and quite honestly, I was always thinking about a school south of 30. What I wasn't thinking about is a 550 kid school. But when you start seeing that 250 kids from Hayes are from south of 30, 175 from Central from south of 30, gosh, you're talking 400 kids already. Then you pick up another 50 from Parkview, you're almost at 500 kids. So I went from, a 400 kid school to a 550 kid school. Because frankly, I think that area is going to grow as soon as we have a building there. And so what does that south of 30 help us do? It recaptures Parkview. It allows us to make a smaller footprint at Central. And it allows us to repurpose Hayes. Because if you take 250 kids out of Hayes and put them in a new school, you have 100 kids left. And the 100 kids that are left who live north of 30 live closer to Memorial than they do Hayes. So what you do is redistrict those kids into Memorial and make Memorial a little bit bigger. And it gives you some time to think, okay, what do we want to do with Hayes? And we don't have an answer yet. But now we have kids frankly, going to schools in neighborhoods. It's your Leave It to Beaver neighborhood where you wake up and walk to school across the street, but south of 30 has a school. You make Cooks bigger for the same reason. In Northwest Valpo has a fairly sizable population of fairly new homes. We pick up those kids on a bus. That bus passes Cook's Corner, passes Northview on its way to Memorial. It seemed to me that, maybe if we told Mama and Daddy in Northwest Valpo that you're not going to pass Cook's, you're going to go to Cook's. You've cut their busing 2/3. And Cook's is a good school. So we do that feature. And then what we have is our traditional schools, Northview, Parkview, TJ, down the middle of Valparaiso. And I think there's far less room to grow down the middle of Valparaiso than there is on the outside footprints. I could be wrong. But having principal at Northview, it's the same size it was when I principaled there 20 years ago. So I think I have some background there. You know, I'm kind of excited about those ideas. I'm sure there are going to be some folks who say, I don't want to go. I want to keep going to Memorial. And that's a nice problem, that you like your school. But Cooks is not anything to sneeze at. And my guess is this new school is going to be a knockout. And people have to get used to one section at Central. People talk about, wouldn't it be nice, or it's always nice to have a teammate. So if Deb and I are second grade teachers, I could bounce things off her. But that you can vertical team as well. I'm a second grade teacher, she's a third grade teacher, we can team. As a matter of fact, that's a good team, because I'm preparing kids for her. So she ought to have input to me saying, they're kind of short on this, work on it. Then, of course, the high school. We currently have 6 classrooms for PLTW type activities. We'd like to staff those classrooms and offer real, offer additional engineering possibilities. Of course, the pool, the auditorium needs tricking up, the cafeteria needs tricking up, the media center needs tricking up. You know, it's like our houses. I mean, maybe not your house, but now and then, you know, you wake up and say, geez, we need to repaint. We need to do this, we need to do that. And we need to do a lot of that around town.
Rick, what's the total enrollment?
K-12?
Yeah.
62.
Didn't you all drop a little bit from last year?
Mm-hmm.
And you dropped the last couple of years, as
2
I
years.
recall. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So 6,200 now,
Mm-hmm.
K through 12. And the year before that, do you recall what it was?
Oh, it was 100 less.
100 less.
Yeah.
At the high school, how many are there?
The population
Just
of
the
high
high
school?
school 9 through 12?
I think we're 22.
2,200. Do you expect that to grow or drop in the next couple of years?
Well, I didn't
What's
expect
the
it to
trend
drop
then?
last year.
Yeah.
No, I think it's going to be stable. We might grow a little bit because I think, as I read in your paper yesterday, we have a lot of employees who want to bring their kids into school. And we have the opportunity to do that now. I shouldn't say that. When the law finally does pass, we will.
Do you all have open enrollment right now?
We do now.
No open enrollment. Have you ever had it?
Yeah.
And you all closed it up a couple of years ago when?
Way before me.
Okay.
There's a certain number that they accept from, or we accept from Emmanuel and St. Paul's as part of the agreement. But I don't have that number off the top of my head. I think it's 10 and 10, just as a courtesy agreement. But the old days when Susie Q from outside the district wanted to come to Valpo, the answer was no, we're not going to do that anymore.
And those were especially a lot of kids from Shorewood in particular.
There were.
What, you know, one thing that could prove a wrinkle in this is if somebody ever decides to open a charter school or something along that line in Valpo. Have you heard any rumblings?
We have no fear of charter schools. The only thing I ask about, you know, I've always said to my subordinates, you can't tell mama to choose a lesser place for her child. because, first of all, it's fruitless. Second of all, it's probably not the best thing in the world to do. And thirdly, you need to be better than the competition. The thing that wrinkles me and some of my colleagues is the research indicates that 1 in 6 charter schools outperforms a public school. But when you hear people talk about charter schools, it sounds like they hung the moon. And you know, if I was a baseball player and I got a hit every 1 in 6 times, I'd be benched. That's 16%. So the only thing I ever ask about the charter school stuff is that truth in lending.
Fair enough.
You know, if you beat me, I will beat you tomorrow, but you beat me today. But I can't tell you not to play for that team. And you're certainly not going to win Mama by saying, please come to us. I don't need any sympathy vote. You just need to be better.
Okay. Any other questions? Sarah, Krista, John?
The engineering at 2nd grade sounds phenomenal.
It's unbelievable.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that comes about?
PLTW, Project Lead the Way, is the title of it. It now has offices in Indianapolis and outreach. My assistant, Julie Lau, had some interaction with PLTW not where she was superintendent, but in and around that area, where PLTW was branching into the elementary schools. And so it is our intent to go to PLTW and say, what's it going to take to put that in our school? Which is instrumental to the operations referendum, because we think we can possibly get a teacher, train a teacher in PLTW and A+ troubleshooting. So you have a teacher, a trained teacher that can teach the intro to engineering in the elementary school and serve as a troubleshooter. And that's his or her assignment. I think they're going to be, particularly the youthful teachers that are more native with technology. I think we're going to get some interest there. But I feel like I think you feel. Can you imagine a kid getting, okay, I have art, music, and PE once a week. Now I have art, music, PE, and engineering. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I really do. And then after school, you know, you go to the computer lab and you pick up a little Chinese. With the, because I've been talking with the Rosetta Stone people, and they have those programs for little kids. And of course, with the extracurricular, you have to tell mom and the little kids, look, you gotta do this regularly. You can't come in on Tuesday and then come in a month from now and pick up where you left off and expect to be able to speak Spanish at the end of it. But we're kind of excited about the offerings and or about the possibilities, I should say. But I do think that a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grader, 6th grader coming home and having no difficulty messing around with engineering kind of concepts, whether it's logo engineering, and we did some of this years ago in Texas with teaching kids programming through logo. My guess is that there'll be some of that within the engineering. But schools are going to be, I think the curriculum's going to look different, at least deeper and broader.
And the foreign language at the elementary school, the idea is that they're, more receptive to languages then than if you wait till high school. Right?
Yeah, yeah, and the research says the same thing. The variable there is you have a regular Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever you do. Tuesday, Thursday is language day. So go to the lab after school and hook into Rosetta Stone. And frankly, I shouldn't say that, an awful lot of the kids have machines at home. So if we can farm it out to their machine at home as well, then they don't even have to stay at school. They're learning a language at home on their own.
Okay. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Thank you for visiting.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for viewing.